I've been coming here as long as I can remember. I went through all the camps and then I aged out. I volunteered here since 2013. This year I am a seasonal educator, so I'm very happy to be able to work here because then I get to work all the camps.
And show you guys how to hold a crayfish. So with the crayfish, you hold him right behind his eyes.
Can I hold him? Let's put him in the bucket.
Yeah, they're trying to show dominance between each other.
I'm pretty sure the big one's gonna win.
I've helped at multiple things other than the camps, like the Luminaria and other winter camps and such. I just love it here. Where is it?
I'll do it.
Where is it?
You want to do it? Come on, Ava.
We catch crayfish, but after we catch him, we put him back in the water. And one time we even found a frog.
So what we do in Creek Study is we introduce kids to the creek, and it's their first time they can really get their hands dirty and catch what lives in there. But my favorite part about Creek Study is when they hold their first crayfish and they realize that nature's not out there to hurt them and that it's super exciting. That look of awe just sparks in their eyes, and we're getting so much of that already today, so that's my favorite part about it.
Oh, that hurts.
I grew up doing Creek Study, and I remember catching crayfish with bandanas and nets, and now I'm helping them catch crayfish too.
Does it hurt?
No.
Camouflage. Remember how well these guys are blending in. Because when they stand really, really still and they don't move, they blend in really well, and we just don't see them.
Who do you think eats these guys?
The coyote.
The coyotes?
Foxes.
Foxes? Aren't any wolves here? Eagles?
Owls.
Owls, perfect.
Oh, hawks.
1, 2, 3.
My daughter started last year, and I only started canoeing a couple years ago, actually. And I went on that Monday night thing, was my first time, so I wanted her to experience it a lot earlier.
I love it. I love the atmosphere of everyone who can just be themselves here, you know? You can be weird and crazy, and it's a lot. We also learn a lot, too. We learn about the wildlife. It's a great experience.
Today we are in the Severson Dells Prairie Restoration, and we actually have some bumblebees feeding in the prairie here. The bumblebees are highly dependent on having a steady supply of blooming plants at which they can feed. They feed on the pollen and on the nectar from various plants, and prairies are a very rich source of both nesting habitat and feeding habitat for bumblebees. All of our native pollinators are suffering population declines due to the loss of habitat, pesticides, and in some cases diseases. The focus on bumblebees is partly because bumblebees are large, easy to locate, easy to identify, easy to photograph, so they make a very good group of insects to monitor. We need more people who understand the importance of having these prairies, the forests, the other wildlands, the wetlands. They're very important not only to the pollinators, but to a whole host of other insects, small mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians that depend on them. We need more people who are environmental educators in order to teach the public and teach the next generation of stewards of the land.
My father and mother-in-law were both longtime volunteers and supporters of Severson Dells, so I'm kind of following in their footsteps. And now that I'm retired, I do a lot of volunteer work in the community, mostly of an educational nature. Today is Science Saturday. People are invited to come out and get more acquainted with nature. So participants are coming. They're digging and getting muck like this out of the pond, bringing it up here. We sort through it, try to find some animal life, plant life that's living in the bottom of the pond. And then we use a chart to help us to identify what each organism is. And we can talk a little bit about how it lives in the pond and how it interacts with other organisms. I usually come out during the school year to work with groups of school children, anywhere from 20 to 60 children come in a day, kindergartners through 5th graders typically.
So can I look at them now?
Yes, you can.
What do we have to find?
Take a look and see if you can find things in nature that match the colors that you have. So, what colors do we think are going to be really easy out here?
Green.
Green, really easy.
And little pink flowers.
Blue, where do we think we'll see blue?
The sky.
Pretty easy. What else might be really easy out here?
Maybe orange.
Does anyone have brown?
Yeah. The slug has orange.
Browns might be pretty easy. What colors might be a little harder?
Orange.
Orange might be kind of hard.
Dark pink.
Pinks might be kind of hard.
I see like little beetles. They're right there. And another one right there.
They learn a lot and they enjoy being outdoors and they get to run around and do things they normally wouldn't get to do inside of the city. Actually, my daughter already has asked. She wants to bring Dad back.
You know, when my kids were in grade school, oftentimes the teachers would take them here on field trips. And that would be one of the field trips I would always want to volunteer as one of the parents to come along and chaperone because this place is so interesting and the kids always loved it here. Severson Dells has so many different habitats here. There's many opportunities for the wetlands, for the woodlands, for the dells themselves. Because the habitats are so varied, there's a diverse number of species here.
So, at Severson Dells, we found some cool snails. This is our first snail that came out of the shell that we caught.
And that's the best part about Severson Dells. I think it gives people an environmental conscience and they realize the value of our natural areas.
Ooh, look at this one.
Yep, that's shooting star also, but that one happens to be purple.
I want to see it. You can find out more things if you look around really close with magnifying glasses. I found the yellow leaf and some green things on it. We learned a little bit about chemistry. We saw a worm, shells, and algae.
Poison ivy. It had 3 leaves, and we saw a hawk.
What kind of birds do you like?
I know.
I like that yellow one. I found 2 grasshoppers, and I picked almost everything up that I found. Is a what? Is a what? A toad? Oh, what kind of toad is it? Real?
Is the difference between a toad and a frog? What is the big difference?
A toad has rough skin.
Has dry, bumpy skin. Okay, everybody say goodbye to Mr. Toad.
Bye, Mr. Toad.